The greatest secret of wealth does not lie in a bank vault or a forgotten ledger, but in the single, small space between your ears. For decades, the world has operated on a lie that success is reserved for the lucky, the well-connected, or the born genius. But in a quiet, transformative moment, over a century ago, the world's richest man, Andrew Carnegie, revealed a timeless truth to a young journalist named Napoleon Hill. Carnegie charged Hill with a monumental task: to spend 20 years studying the most successful men and women in history: Ford, Edison, Rockefeller, and dozens more, and to distill their collective wisdom into a single comprehensive philosophy of achievement. That philosophy is what you hold now, an eternal blueprint for converting thought into physical reality. This is not a book about luck. It is a master key to the universe of your own potential. This is the alchemy of the mind, the definitive guide to why some people think and grow rich, while others merely wish and remain poor. The journey begins with the absolute certainty that thoughts are things. Every empire, every invention, every fortune ever created began as an intangible spark in the human mind. But a mere thought, a casual wish, is powerless. It must be amplified, focused, and charged with an intense magnetic energy. This is the first, most crucial step, the foundational principle: desire. Napoleon Hill is emphatic. It is not enough to simply want money. Millions want it. They express this want mildly, and their mild effort brings a mild, negligible result. The man who achieves true riches cultivates a burning desire, an obsession for a definite amount of money, a desire so intense that it becomes a fixed, singular purpose of life. It must be the kind of desire that makes retreat impossible. It's the difference between merely dipping your toe in the water and burning your bridges behind you. Think of Edwin C. Barnes, the man who decided he would become Thomas Edison's partner. Barnes didn't merely hope to work for Edison. He arrived on a freight train, penniless, looking disheveled, but with one thought consuming his entire being: I will become his associate. When he faced Edison, he looked like any other tramp, but his thoughts radiated a power and a definite purpose that was unmistakable. Edison later recalled that the sheer force of Barnes's determination was what earned him a chance. Barnes accepted the most menial of jobs, a janitorial role far beneath his ambition, but he never let the flame of his definite desire flicker. He knew exactly what he wanted and patiently, persistently waited for the opportunity to present itself. When Edison invented the Ediphone dictating machine, his sales force was skeptical. Barnes, who had been quietly learning the business from the bottom up, stepped forward and seized the chance, becoming the exclusive marketer of the machine, achieving his goal not through luck, but through the unwavering transmutation of thought into reality. Hill presents this transmutation in a precise 6-step formula, which must be followed with scientific exactitude. Step 1. Fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire. Vague wishes yield vague results. Be precise. Write the number down. Step 2. Determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. Understand the universal law. There is no such thing as something for nothing. Define the service, product, or sacrifice you are willing to make. Step 3. Establish a definite date when you intend to possess the money. This deadline creates urgency and forces your mind to move from passive wanting to active planning. Step 4. Create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once to put this plan into action, whether you feel ready or not. Immediate action is the true hallmark of a burning desire. Step 5. Write out a clear, concise statement of the entire formula, the amount, the deadline, what you give, and your plan. Step 6. Read this statement aloud twice daily, once just before retiring at night and once after rising in the morning. As you read, you must see and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money. This is where the magic truly begins. The continuous emotional repetition in Step 6 is the key to the second principle, faith. Hill defines faith as a state of mind, which can be induced or created by the persistent use of the third principle, auto-suggestion. Your subconscious mind, the magnificent factory that converts thought into action, is indifferent to whether the thoughts it receives are positive or negative. It accepts as fact whatever you feed it with feeling and repetition. If you fear poverty, the subconscious works to create poverty. If you affirm wealth with powerful emotion, the subconscious accepts that command as its marching orders and begins to organize the resources to deliver it. Autosuggestion is the only channel through which you can consciously communicate with the subconscious mind. By repeatedly telling yourself with feeling that you are acquiring the money, you are planting the seed of faith, the absolute belief in your ability to succeed, and that faith is the emotional fertilizer that allows your desire to bloom into riches. This deliberate cultivation of faith is essential because of the pervasive presence of fear. Hill notes that the subconscious mind is dominated by the emotions. If you allow the 7 major negative emotions, fear, jealousy, hatred, revenge, greed, superstition, and anger, to dominate your thinking, your subconscious will only attract their corresponding negative outcomes. To win the great prize of wealth, you must become the gatekeeper of your own mind, consciously flooding it with the 7 major positive emotions: desire, faith, love, sex, enthusiasm, romance, and hope. Faith is the commander-in-chief of all the positive forces. Now we move to the practical application of power, which begins with the 4th principle, specialized knowledge. General knowledge is useful, but it rarely produces wealth. The accumulation of riches requires highly specialized knowledge related to the service, product, or profession that constitutes your definite chief aim. Hill makes a crucial distinction here. You do not need to carry this specialized knowledge in your own head. The ability to achieve success lies in the ability to organize and direct the specialized knowledge of others. Henry Ford was once accused of being ignorant for his lack of formal schooling. His famous retort was that he could push a button and summon a panel of experts who knew all the answers. Ford's power was his mastermind, his ability to organize and direct minds far more knowledgeable than his own in specific fields. Therefore, the task is not to become a walking encyclopedia, but to know precisely what specialized knowledge you need and where you can acquire it, either through ongoing study or through a carefully assembled team. This leads us to the 5th and perhaps most potent principle of achievement: imagination. Imagination is literally the workshop of the mind, the faculty where the blueprint of your desire is converted into a concrete plan. There are 2 forms of imagination, and the mastery of both is required for the achievement of great wealth. The first is synthetic imagination. This is the ability to rearrange old concepts, ideas, or plans into new combinations. Most business innovations are a result of synthetic imagination. The second, and more profound, is creative imagination. This is the faculty through which man has direct communication with infinite intelligence. This is the source of hunches, intuitions, and flashes of genius. It only operates when the mind is vibrating at an extremely high rate, which is achieved through the powerful stimulation of definite purpose combined with intense emotion, particularly through the transmutation of sex energy. The greatest achievers are those who are masters of creative imagination, those who can tap into the universal well of wisdom to retrieve completely new, revolutionary ideas. Once the idea is forged in the workshop of the imagination, it must be crystallized into the sixth principle, organized planning. A plan must be created for carrying out your desire, and that plan must be executed immediately. Failure to create a detailed, workable plan, and the failure to execute it is the universal point where nearly every aspiration dies. Hill advises that your plan, once created, may fail. If it fails, do not despair. Replace it with a new plan. And if that fails, replace it again. Quitting is the only certain route to failure. Every man who accumulates great fortune is a person who has failed and started over dozens of times, but always with the certainty that his definite chief aim was achievable. The ability to persist in modifying and replacing plans is the true indicator of a burning desire. The greatest tool for organized planning is the seventh principle, the master mind. This is not simply a business network. It is the coordination of knowledge and effort between two or more people working in a spirit of perfect harmony toward a definite purpose. Hill stresses the metaphysical power of this alliance. When two minds are harmoniously united, they create a third, invisible, intangible force, a third mind, which is more powerful than the sum of the two individual minds. All great achievements, the entire industrial structure of the United States, for instance, were built by mastermind alliances. You must carefully select a group of individuals whose knowledge, experience, and energy complement your own, and meet with them regularly to coordinate and stimulate the mental power needed to execute your plan. Without the collective power of a mastermind group, you will forever be limited by the shortcomings of your own experience and knowledge. The final principle we will examine in this foundation is the powerful, often misunderstood concept of sexual transmutation. Hill asserts that the emotion of sex is the strongest and most impelling of all human emotions. It is a powerful creative energy that, when expressed solely on the physical plane, is often scattered and dissipated. However, when this energy is deliberately transmuted, elevated, and redirected, the physical urge into a creative mental force, it becomes a source of genius. History shows that men and women who reach the pinnacle of achievement in art, business, or leadership are those who have mastered this transmutation, channeling that powerful nervous energy into the focused, persistent execution of their definite purpose. The energy of sex is the source of great courage, an intensified imagination, and a relentless persistence. Very characteristics necessary to rise above the mediocre and tap into the realm of creative imagination. The leaders of industry and finance are typically men who discovered this art, often instinctively, after the age of 40. Those who learn to apply it earlier are the true prodigies of achievement. We have laid the essential foundation, the desire charged with faith via autosuggestion, guided by specialized knowledge and a master mind plan, and fueled by sexual transmutation. But the philosophy is only potential power until it meets the ultimate test, the will to persevere. The distance between a successful plan and a successful result is crossed only by persistence, the single quality that is often lacking in those who fail. The ability to turn one's back on temporary defeat, to stand firm against skepticism, and to pursue a definite aim with unshakable resolve is the difference between poverty and fortune. The next crucial phase of this philosophy involves mastering this vital power of persistence, understanding the extraordinary relationship between your conscious brain and your subconscious mind, and most importantly, identifying and conquering the 6 invisible enemies, the crippling 6 basic fears that sabotage all dreams of riches. Without absolute persistence, every other principle is doomed to failure. It is the gatekeeper of the entire philosophy and the subject we must master next. We left our journey at the precipice of action. We have forged the powerful, definitive thought, charged it with burning desire and unshakable faith, and encased it within an organized master mind plan. But the great canyon between the thought and the realization is bridged by only one quality: persistence. This is the 9th principle, and it is the essential ingredient that fireproofs your dream against the inevitable setbacks of life. Without persistence, the entire preceding structure, desire, faith, autosuggestion, and plan, collapses under the weight of the first major difficulty. Persistence is to the will what carbon is to steel, the element that gives it its invincible strength. Hill notes that lack of persistence is the most common cause of failure. The irony is that the moment of temporary defeat, the moment when most people quit, is often just a step away from success. He reminds us of the story of R.U. Darby, a man who was gripped by the fever of the gold rush. Darby purchased a claim and worked his drill for weeks, only to find nothing. He quit, sold the machinery for a few $100s to a junk dealer, and went home. The junk dealer, more knowledgeable than Darby, hired a mining engineer who advised him that the gold was only 3 feet further down from where Darby had stopped drilling. That discovery made the junk dealer millions. Darby carried that lesson for the rest of his life, realizing he had quit just 3 feet from success. He learned to apply persistence to a different field, insurance sales, and eventually made a fortune. His temporary defeat became his greatest teacher, teaching him that persistence is simply continuing with a definite purpose after others have given up. Persistence is not an accident. It is a cultivated state of mind. Hill identifies 4 steps, simple in concept but difficult in execution, required to build the habit of persistence. First, a definite purpose, backed by a burning desire. You must know exactly what you want. Second, a definite plan expressed in continuous action. The plan must be constantly worked, even in small measures. Third, a mind closed tightly against all negative and discouraging influences, including suggestions from friends and family who mean well but lack understanding. Fourth, a harmonious mastermind alliance that will encourage you to follow through with your plan and purpose. Notice how persistence ties back to the initial principles. It is the action-based manifestation of desire, faith, and the mastermind. Without a clear goal, a plan, and support, persistence is impossible. It becomes blind, aimless toil. When persistence is driven by a definite purpose, it becomes an irresistible force that breaks down all resistance. Those who lack this quality will find they suffer from a subtle, constant drain of mental energy, characterized by procrastination, hesitation, and a tendency to blame others for their own failures. The successful person simply develops the habit of persistence until it becomes automatic, until the thought of quitting is physically repulsive. This powerful habit is cultivated through the 10th principle, the magnificent, mysterious power of the subconscious mind. This is the great invisible partner in your quest for riches. The subconscious mind works day and night. It is the fertile garden where all your thoughts, both positive and negative, are planted and nourished. Crucially, the subconscious mind cannot distinguish between constructive and destructive thought impulses. It will work with the material you feed it, taking commands literally, especially those mixed with emotion and repeated via autosuggestion. The secret to success is to master the conscious mind so that only positive and wealth-conscious thoughts are voluntarily passed on to the subconscious. Hill explicitly warns that failure to apply the principle of autosuggestion, failure to continuously plant the thought of your definite purpose, allows the negative thoughts of fear and poverty to take root. The subconscious mind is the conduit between your finite intellect and infinite intelligence. It is through this channel that intuitions and creative ideas are received. If you want great ideas, you must prepare the soil of your subconscious mind to receive them by cleansing it of fear and doubt, and flooding it with the definite image of the riches you intend to acquire. It will then work to translate those mental pictures into their physical equivalent. The subconscious mind is where the alchemy of thought finally translates into gold. The next principle takes us deeper into the biological reality of this process, the brain, the 11th principle. The brain is nothing less than the broadcasting and receiving station for all thought. It is the intricate communication center that connects the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the vast reservoir of infinite intelligence. Hill explains that the brain has two main components at play: the sending station, which broadcasts your dominant thought impulses, and the receiving set, which picks up thought impulses broadcast by others, primarily your master mind group, and also by the universal mind, or infinite intelligence. When you use the principle of autosuggestion, mixed with intense desire, you are deliberately turning the dial on your mental broadcasting station to the frequency of success. When your master mind group is in session, your individual brains link up, and their collective energy is transmitted and received by all members, creating the powerful third mind effect. This is a scientific fact of success. The physical matter of the brain acts as the medium, the instrument, through which the non-physical power of thought is translated into definite, measurable vibration. The great men of achievement were those who, consciously or unconsciously, learned to activate their brains to receive highly tuned thoughts from the universal supply of knowledge. This brings us to the 12th principle, one of the most abstract yet powerful forces in the philosophy, the sense of the sixth sense. This is the highest of all principles, and it can only be understood and mastered after mastering the preceding 11. The sixth sense is the door to the temple of wisdom. It is the faculty of the creative imagination, that part of the subconscious mind which has direct communication with infinite intelligence. It is the realm of hunches, sudden inspirations, and flashes of genius that cannot be explained logically. It is the mechanism through which your prayers, your desires, and your definite purposes are brought into immediate communication with the cosmic forces that guide the universe. The sixth sense is not something you can demand. It is something you must cultivate through the diligent application of all the other principles. When your mind is clear, focused by a definite purpose, purified of fear, and vibrating with the intense energy of desire and faith, the subconscious mind opens the door, and the sixth sense provides the answers and the ideas needed to complete your goal. It is the invisible counselor, the quiet voice of wisdom that guides the true genius through times of great difficulty. It is the crown jewel of the entire philosophy, providing a perspective that is otherwise inaccessible to the rational, logical mind. We have now explored all 12 riches principles, from desire to the sixth sense. But there remains one final critical hurdle, a powerful, pervasive force that destroys, more ambition than all the wars and natural disasters combined, the demon of fear. Hill dedicates an entire section to this because the entire philosophy is useless if the mind is paralyzed by doubt and fear. The greatest enemies of man are invisible, and they live within his own mental house. Hill identifies the 6 basic fears that afflict humanity and must be ruthlessly conquered by anyone seeking riches or success. The fear of poverty. This is arguably the most destructive of all fears. It paralyzes the power of reason, destroys the capacity for imagination, kills self-reliance, undermines enthusiasm, discourages initiative, leads to procrastination, and destroys persistence. The symptom of this fear is indifference, lack of ambition, lack of initiative, and a ready willingness to accept any situation in life, no matter how limiting. The man suffering from the fear of poverty is easy to identify. He usually avoids responsibility and is easily discouraged. The antidote is the acceptance of the absolute truth. Poverty is nothing more than a state of mind, and it is within your power to change that state of mind to one of wealth consciousness. 2. The fear of criticism. This fear is deeply rooted in human nature and often develops from a traumatic childhood experience. It manifests as a nervousness about expressing original ideas, a tendency to criticize others to look important, or an overwhelming fear of giving offense. This fear destroys ambition and initiative because the person is constantly worried about what people will say. Many great ideas have died because the originator feared the ridicule of a cynical world. The antidote is to develop moral courage and to realize that only constructive criticism, your mastermind group, is valid. All other criticism is noise, and noise should be ignored. 3. The fear of ill health. This fear manifests through hypochondria, an over-reliance on drugs, or a constant preoccupation with sickness. The mind has an undeniable influence over the body. Holding a dominant thought of disease can actually manifest physical symptoms. The fear itself is often more damaging than the illness it imagines. The antidote is the constant practice of autosuggestion, focusing on vibrant health, and the realization that the power of the subconscious mind can be directed to support the body's natural healing processes. The fear of loss of love. This is a deeply personal and excruciating fear that often makes people avoid relationships, or conversely, become overly possessive and jealous. It creates paranoia and undermines self-respect. It stems from the primal need for belonging. The antidote is to realize that the highest form of love is built on mutual respect and understanding. And the only love you can truly control is the love you cultivate within yourself, which then naturally attracts harmony. The fear of old age, this fear, often associated with a dread of diminished vitality, declining opportunity, and dependence, is a complete mental construct. Many people begin to decline prematurely simply because they accept society's programming that age means uselessness. The truth is, the period between 40 and 60 is often the most productive and creative time, as the experience and wisdom of a lifetime finally coalesce. The antidote is to accept old age as a blessing of accumulated wisdom and to maintain an active, goal-oriented mind, focusing on the definite purpose that spans decades, not just years. The fear of death, this is the most profound and universal of all fears, yet the most useless. Hill notes that there is no evidence that death is anything more than a transition. The fear of death, however, keeps people from taking the risks necessary to achieve great success, leading them to settle for mediocrity. The antidote is a philosophical understanding that death is inevitable and should therefore be dismissed as a psychological burden. The focus must be on living a life defined by your definite chief aim, making the fear of death irrelevant in the face of a life fully lived. Hill concludes this crucial section by stating that the power to control your thoughts is the only absolute and undeniable power you possess. You cannot control the economy, the weather, or the actions of others, but you can control what thoughts you plant in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. Every time you refuse to be persistent, every time you allow the fear of criticism to stifle an idea, you are voluntarily surrendering this divine power. The great difference between the rich and the poor is simply this. The rich have conquered their internal fears and developed the unstoppable habit of persistence, using their subconscious mind as a loyal, powerful partner. The final and most powerful step in this philosophy requires a serious, honest self-inventory, a deep introspection into your own weaknesses. You must conduct a personal audit, a ruthless examination of your character to identify the 28 major causes of failure and how they manifest in your life, particularly the insidious habit of procrastination. We have acquired the knowledge, we have honed the tools, and we have identified the enemy. Now, in the final act, we must learn the discipline of self-analysis, the process of measuring ourselves against the great leaders of history and mastering the process of hypnotic rhythm, the final, subtle force that locks your success into place. We stand now at the final, crucial juncture of the philosophy. We have the desire, the burning fire. We have the faith, the absolute belief. We have the plan, forged by the master mind. We have the persistence, the unyielding engine. But all of this potential power remains dormant, trapped, until it is released by the force of decision. This is the 13th principle, and it is the key that unlocks the door to definite action. Napoleon Hill observed that successful men and women reach decisions quickly and change them slowly, if at all. Unsuccessful people, conversely, are slow to reach decisions and prone to change them quickly and often. This seemingly simple difference is the fundamental separator between the rich and the poor. The inability to make a swift, firm decision is directly linked to the fear of criticism, one of the 6 ghosts we discussed earlier. People fear making a mistake, and they fear the ridicule that might follow. The man who achieves wealth recognizes that a decision made and executed, even if it proves imperfect, is infinitely better than no decision at all. The very act of making a firm decision gives momentum to the entire process, sending a definitive, unclouded command to the subconscious mind. Consider the birth of the United States. 56 men, facing the most powerful empire on earth, signed the Declaration of Independence. That single unanimous decision was the spark that created a new nation. Had they hesitated, debated endlessly, or feared the consequences of treason, the idea would have died in a committee room. Great leaders are not those who never make a wrong move. They are those who make a decision, execute it with power and correct course, only when presented with new, proven facts, not mere public opinion or doubt. The mark of a true leader is the speed and finality of their decisions. Now that the decisive action has been taken, the question becomes, how do we ensure the machinery of persistence does not break down? This requires the most difficult and honest work of the entire philosophy, self-analysis. This is the 14th principle, and it serves as your personal balance sheet, a ruthless, courageous examination of your own character. Hill insists that anyone who achieves sustained success must perform a yearly, rigorous self-inventory. You must know your own weaknesses to correct them, and you must know your strengths to capitalize on them. This process involves asking yourself 28 searching, personal questions, which you must answer in writing, with the help of someone who has the courage to tell you the truth. These questions cover every aspect of your life. Have I achieved the goal I set for myself this year? Have I been persistent in following my plans? Have I permitted procrastination to decrease my efficiency? Was the quality of my service the best of which I was capable? Have I been temperate in all my habits? Have I been guilty of any of the 6 basic fears? Am I truly a master of my own definite chief aim? The purpose is not to indulge in guilt, but to identify the specific causes of failure and to immediately construct a new, refined plan to eliminate them. Without consistent self-analysis, a person is sailing a ship without a rudder, drifting aimlessly toward mediocrity. The biggest enemy revealed through this self-analysis is nearly always the same: procrastination. This is the greatest weakness of the majority of people, the silent assassin of definite purpose. It is the habit of putting off until tomorrow what should have been done last year. Procrastination is the physical manifestation of a lack of burning desire, a lack of faith, and an overwhelming fear of failure or criticism. Hill's entire philosophy is the antidote to procrastination, because it demands immediate, organized action, from step 4 of the desire principle to the immediate execution of the mastermind plan. The man who learns to make decisions quickly and acts on them immediately has already eliminated the primary barrier to wealth. To aid in the necessary self-analysis, Hill provides a checklist of the 28 major causes of failure. Understanding these flaws allows you to identify them in your own behavior. Lack of a well-defined purpose in life, the single most common cause of failure. Lack of ambition to aim above mediocrity. Insufficient education, particularly the lack of specialized knowledge. Lack of self-discipline. Failing to control the negative qualities and cultivate the positive ones. Ill health, often caused by improper diet, lack of exercise, or negative mental attitudes. Unfavorable environmental influences during childhood, which can create subconscious fear. Procrastination, the habit of putting off. Lack of persistence, giving up at the first sign of defeat. Negative personality, repelling others with negativity, selfishness, or impatience. Lack of control over the sex urge, leading to dissipation of creative energy. Uncontrolled desire for something for nothing, seeking wealth without service. Lack of a well-developed power of decision. One or more of the 6 basic fears. Wrong selection of a mastermind group, choosing people who discourage or mislead. Wrong selection of a mate in marriage, leading to loss of ambition and energy. Indiscrimination in gambling. Vanity, expressed through ego and expecting reward without earning it. Guessing instead of thinking, relying on opinion instead of fact. Lack of capital. Hill notes this is low on the list, as capital will follow the organized plan. Lack of enthusiasm, intolerance or closed-mindedness, intemperance in food, drink, or activity, inability to cooperate with others, possession of power that was not acquired through effort, often leading to reckless use, intentional dishonesty, egotism and vanity, failing to render service willingly, quitting. This comprehensive list serves as a mirror. If you can identify and systematically eliminate these deficiencies through the consistent application of autosuggestion and persistence, you will not only rise to financial success, but will develop a magnificent, balanced character. The ultimate application of this entire philosophy relies on the subtle, metaphysical power known as hypnotic rhythm or cosmic habit force. This is the final, unstated principle that locks your success into the fabric of the universe. Hill explains that the universe is governed by the law of perpetual change and orderly rhythm. Anything that is continuously repeated, a thought, a habit, a physical action, eventually falls under the control of this rhythmic principle. Thought patterns, when repeated with emotion over a long period, become magnetic, attracting their physical equivalent, whether that is wealth or poverty. When you continuously flood your subconscious mind with the command for a definite amount of money, backed by a plan and faith, this thought creates a dominant vibration that eventually harmonizes with the rhythmic forces of the universe. It creates a powerful, unstoppable momentum. Once this rhythmic habit force takes over, your success is no longer reliant on mere effort. It becomes a cosmic certainty. Your mind, having been fed the dominant thought of wealth, now operates automatically on the aid frequency of success, attracting the resources and opportunities with effortless precision. This is why persistence is so crucial. The slightest break in the chain of effort can shatter the rhythm and force you to start building the magnetic pattern all over again. The final essential piece of the puzzle is understanding how to leverage this force by adopting the principles of the Golden Rule. Hill emphasizes that all lasting riches are built on the principle of giving more and better service than you are paid for. This is not philanthropy, it is shrewd business. The principle of extra effort is fundamental to the law of rhythmic habit force. By consciously giving extra effort, you not only improve your service, but you align your actions with the universal law of attraction, ensuring that you receive more in return. The man who gives only the bare minimum of service is constantly fighting against the rhythmic tide of the universe. The man who gives abundant, high-quality service, freely and cheerfully, is carried effortlessly towards success by the law of increasing returns. This profound philosophy, distilled from the lives of over 500 of the world's most successful individuals, is not just a collection of tips. It is a systematic, scientific method for controlling your own destiny. It demands that you take absolute ownership of your mind. It insists that poverty is not a matter of fate, but a matter of circumstance. Circumstances created by a lack of definite purpose and an abundance of fear. It teaches that wealth in any form is the direct, inevitable result of applying these principles with persistence and faith. The universe rewards clarity, demands decision, and honors persistence. You have been given the master key. You have witnessed the blueprint. You have learned the formula for transforming intangible thought into tangible gold. The journey requires only one final, decisive action: the total abandonment, doubt, and the courageous, relentless application of your definite chief aim. The riches you seek are not waiting for a lucky break. They are waiting for the moment you decide, absolutely and irrevocably, to think and grow rich.